Hello folks, my name's Mark. This is Why Hate the World. How you guys doing? So, no stream this week, but I did want to make a video response to something that I saw in the news which kind of caught my attention. This is an opinion piece by a guy named John Nolte, which if you've never heard of him, he writes for Brietbart. And he is kind of like one of the worst human beings ever. He reminds me of a, conservative like Reddit troll, like one of those assholes who used to like post in like TD, you know what I'm talking about. And yeah, he's kind of the worst person ever. So let me just show you what I got here. Nolte. Howard Stern proves Democrats want unvaccinated Trump voters dead. This is one of the dumbest, ridiculous, smooth-brained conspiracy theory loads of baloney that I've ever heard. But, let's give the man a chance to talk in his own words here before we shit all over him. So let's see what he's got to say, okay? Do you want to know why I think Howard Stern is going full monster with his mockery of three fellow human beings who died of the coronavirus? Because leftists like Stern and CNN, lol, and Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi and Anthony Fauci are deliberately looking to manipulate Trump supporters into not getting vaccinated. Nothing else makes sense to me. So that's his big, super awesome, smarty pants, big boy take on this is that, Democrats and progressives are using reverse psychology to manipulate Trump supporters, specifically Trump supporters, into not getting vaccinated so that they'll, like, what, all die off and then, like, Joe Biden wins the election in 2024? Is that what he's fucking talking about? Sound, the circus going on in this guy's head, just unbelievable. Let's read a little more, though. In a country where elections are decided on razor-thin margins, does it not benefit one side if their opponents simply drop dead? If I wanted to use reverse psychology to convince people not to get a life-saving vaccination, I would do exactly what Stern and the left are doing. I would bully and taunt and mock and ridicule you for not getting vaccinated, knowing the human response would be, hey, fuck you, I'm never getting vaccinated. So a little bit of backstory. Howard Stern is not a very much a progressive person at all. He is not woke at all. If you know anything about Howard Stern, you know that he's not feminist. He's not necessarily a woke person. He's engaged in a lot of very questionable things, a lot of racist humor, stuff like that over the years. Generally seems to be a decent, mostly decent human being, though. Not an SJW at all in the slightest. And in his usual kind of, harsh shock jockey kind of style, he went on the air, and the story was is that a couple of conservative radio show hosts who were anti-vax have died of the coronavirus. A couple of dudes, I can't remember their names off the top of my head. And he was pissed off because Howard Stern wants this shit to be over with, just like everybody else, right? And he kind of just went off on anti-vaxxers and basically said, I don't give a shit about your freedom to, like, because it's not freedom to spread a fucking disease and kill people. That's not freedom. That's not protected in the fucking Constitution, right? And it's time to basically grow up and put on your big boy pants and stop acting like a fucking child and get vaccinated so that we can end this shit and things can start going back to normal. And that actually caused a lot of conservatives and right wingers and Trump supporters and other, reactionary batshit crazies to just lose their fucking minds, right? That coupled with the fact that also right around this time, Joe Biden enacted his sort of limited, vaccine mandates where he's gonna vaccinate everybody in the federal government, and then also like employers that have more than 100 people have to get vaccinated, or else they have to get tested every week. That really caused them to lose their minds also. And why is this a perfectly human response? Because no one ever wants to feel like they're being bullied or ridiculed or mocked or pushed into doing anything. Who wants to cave to a piece of shit like Howard Stern, or Jimmy Kimmel, or these repulsive doctors refusing to treat the unvaccinated, or Bette Midler, or? Who wants to feel like they're caving to a guy who's such a piece of shit he publicly mocks people who have died? And he's not just a piece of shit mocking them, he's a piece of shit hurting the families of the dead men left behind. First off, a little bit of some commentary on this paragraph. There are no doctors who are refusing to treat people with coronavirus. That's not what's happening. There were a couple of stories that came out a few weeks ago where some doctors are saying, if you don't get vaccinated, I will not be your doctor anymore, right? Before you get sick. That's basically what it's saying. The doctor's saying, hey, my advice to you is to get vaccinated. If you're not taking my advice, then I'm not your doctor. And you know what? Your doctor has every right to do that because your doctor has no obligation to treat anybody. It's a business like everything else. And, I think that's bullshit, but hey, that's what conservatives want. Conservatives want to treat medicine like it's a commodity, right? And not a human right like the people on the left, like the progressives do, you know. They want to treat it like it's a commodity. They want to treat it like it's just going in and buying a sandwich or getting your car fixed. Well, guess what, people? There's two sides of that equation. The other part of that, the other part of that arrangement is your doctor gets to refuse service. The same way that if you go into a restaurant and there's a big sign that says no shoes, no shirt, no service, and you walk in with no shoes on, they can kick your ass out. That's just how it is because thanks to the conservatives in this country, you don't have a right to health care. So, so this is just, if you got a problem with that shit, talk to the Republicans, talk to the conservatives, talk to the libertarians, right? So yeah, that's one thing, right? The other thing here is that, this idea that, that liberals and progressives are using reverse psychology, it's like the dumbest fucking thing that I've ever heard in my entire life. It's like, because here's the thing, for the whole time that this has been going on, the people who have actually been advocating for mask mandates, for a vaccine and all that stuff, and social distancing, and to keep people at home and lockdowns, it's been people on the left. People on the right, the Trump supporters, they didn't do any of that shit. They tried to pretend that it wasn't a problem, right? They didn't want to do anything. They didn't want to lock down. The Republican governors continuously do things like they outlaw mask mandates. They won't allow schools to set their own mask mandates, right? Or businesses. They won't, allow a business to have a vaccine mandate. For example, in Florida, the cruise lines in Florida wanted to make a vaccine mandate so that way when you go and you take a cruise, you're not in the middle of a fucking petri dish of coronavirus. And Ron DeSantis blocked that. The same thing happened in Texas. The same thing happened in Louisiana and all that other shit. So, that's kind of like the exact opposite of what's really happening in real life. Let's read on. According to the CDC, 99.5% of those dying of the China flu, gotta throw in a little bit of racism there, are unvaccinated. So even if they're lying or exaggerating, even if it's 75 or 80%, those numbers are pretty stark. Could it possibly be that the left has manipulated huge swaths of Trump's voters into believing they're owning the left by not taking life-saving Trump vaccine? First off, it's like, the Trump vaccine. I like how he has to give, Trump the credit there. Secondly, it's like, owning the left. Like, I don't understand. Like, this is the master plan here. This is the master fucking plan. It's like, oh, we will create this life-saving vaccine that the previous administration set the money aside for and got the ball rolling on. We will take this vaccine. We will make it free for everyone in the entire country, that you can just go to your corner drugstore and you can just get it like that, right? And we will encourage you to get it just because we know that the people who are going to vote for our political opponent in 3.5 years won't get it and they'll all die. I don't know. This dude is this guy has like the Cirque du Soleil going on in his brain right now. There's like acrobats doing flips, right? Just the gymnastics in this dude's logic are there. It's like it's unbelievably stupid. It is the dumbest fucking shit. This is stupider than like, people drinking onion juice and shit because they think it's gonna like make your testosterone go up, right? This is dumber than people taking fucking like fishbowl cleaner or rubbing fucking like horse dewormer in their armpits to me. This is the stupidest thing that anybody's ever fucking said ever, in my opinion. I just, oh my god. So anyway, I will put this down in the little thingamajig if you want to read this guy. He is kind of, this dude, John Nolte, is kind of basically the worst person ever. He's an outrage merchant, is what he is. He's very, racist. He's a sexist. He hates refugees. He's homophobic. I went through his Twitter feed a little bit here. His Twitter feed is called "Let's Build a MAGA Chaz." For those of you who don't remember, Chaz, or also it was also called CHOP, was the Seattle autonomous zone that was set up during a protest a few years ago. That kind of set up their own little sort of self, sustaining commune or whatever. That was pretty much working okay until like Proud Boys showed up and started like beating and murdering people. And then that resulted in a few people getting shot, and then like their own security shot some people because they were basically fucking white supremacists running around shooting people. I did a couple of streams on that a while back. So I guess this guy wants to build a MAGA version of that. I don't know. Maybe that'll be in like fucking Atlas Shrugged or whatever. Maybe that's what he's thinking of. Anyway, here's some tweets from him. He's been on about this conspiracy theory for a while. It makes perfect sense. They spread infection throughout the country. Okay. 99.5% of COVID deaths are the unvaccinated. Looks like he forgot the percent sign there. They see the unvaccinated as Trump voters. They're sociopaths who want you dead. Yeah, that's some insane logical leaps there. You know. Here's another tweet from him. A little bit of anti-Semitism. Yeah, okay. So far, very much a douchebag. Okay, here's some homophobic from him. Apparently, he doesn't like Star Wars or gay people. He also thinks TV is gay, right? Yeah, so yeah, you could see this dude not very friendly to people who are not, heterosexual. Another tweet, you know, I oppose vaccine mandates. I've written countless words defending the anti-vax people, even though I think they should get vaccinated. Which is kind of defeats your, a little counterproductive to your message there. I mean, you would think if you thought that vaccines worked and everybody should get them, then you should be in support of the government mandating that people get them for certain situations, right? Like, say, if you're in the military, or say if you work for the federal government, or say if you're a teacher, or if you work in some place where there's lots of people that you could spread it around very easily, like, say, a hospital, you know. You would think you'd be in favor of vaccine mandates like that. Like maybe you don't need one if you just work in an office somewhere, but maybe if there's an office with lots of people, like say more than 100, you might want to encourage people to get those vaccines, wouldn't you? I mean, you think vaccines fucking work, don't you? So what the fuck is the problem? It doesn't make any sense. It's like, I don't know. So yeah, this dude, I'm not gonna go through every fucking thing this guy's read, right? But I will put some links down to his Twitter feed. I'll put some links down to his blogs. He is basically the worst first fucking person ever. He's got blog posts in support of hydroxychloroquine. He hates lockdowns. He calls lots of racism going on in there. Calling it the China virus, stuff like that. Saying people are locked down, Nazis, that kind of thing. Very, very homophobic. He really seems to like the TV show 24 for some reason. I remember reading something about that, about how, like, people on the alt-right and shit really sort of idolize Jack Bauer because they think he's an American hero because he, like, goes and tortures people and shit. I don't know, I'll have to read up on that. Very anti-Semitic, right? Seems to only have, like, all he really talks about, like, on his Twitter feed, he has lots of your mama jokes. I don't know, like whenever somebody like tweets at him, like angry with something that he said, he just responds with your mama. I don't know. Very imaginative there. And he's essentially a piece of shit. And, the one good thing you could say about this guy is that he wasn't an anti-vaxxer. So, okay, yeah, maybe he's got like 1% of a brain cell in his head. But, if he's mad that people on the right don't want to get vaccines because they think it's all like a conspiracy, because they think that it's like, reptilian overlords telling Bill Gates to put, inject microchips into him because it's the mark of the beast or whatever, he really has only himself to blame. I mean, if you read through this guy's Twitter feed, if you read through his blog posts and all of his commentary on Brietbart, he did his little part, his small part there to help foster that environment of insane right wing conspiracy theory nonsense, which has just taken over. This QAnon shit, like that's just taken over conservatives and Republicans and turned them into a bunch of fucking morons. This guy contributed to that. So I don't know, man. You reap what you fucking sow, is all I really got to say. It's all very, it's all ridiculous. Everybody's insane, folks. I think that's all I got. Adios.